was totally disappointed. I've said on this show before that Nick Fuentes is probably one of my top white supremacists that I enjoyed listening to or just watching little snippets and clips because of the manner of which he expresses it. This right there, he didn't do. Like, you didn't show your ass at all, Nick Fuentes. You tucked your little pencil peckerwood in, and I was disgusted. Like, this is what I expect. When I hear Nick Fuentes, and I think about him going on Candace Owens' show, knowing that they've had little, snips here and there at each other, I expected this for him to say. I expected him to go and be like, look here, Black Baboon. The only reason I'm on your show is because there's white lost souls that watch you, and I need to bring them home. Like, that's what I thought the kind of energy he was going to bring in. Like, hey, Black Baboon. Okay, like I'm thinking that's what he's coming with.
So what energy did he bring into the interview that surprised you so much?
The most pathetic peckerwood, like, whiny ass. Like, he's over here trying to like take back certain statements. It was disgusting. It was vile. It was a sickness. I'm gonna play a little bit for you just so you can kind of get an idea of Nick Fuentes.
Perspectives on family. I mean, I personally, and this would be me lecturing, but I just feel like you really have no idea who you are until you start a family. And whether that means just marriage, some people who are struggling to have children, okay, fine. But there's such a growth that happens because of that I think it informs your beliefs in so many ways. And I think that was a huge turning point for me. Like, I wonder if I had been pressed with everything that happened last year, if I didn't have like the unshaken faith and my family, what would I have done? And sometimes when I see the things that you say, I do think, okay, he doesn't take into account family. Like, it's just Nick. Nick is in his own world, which can be, I think, a quite selfish perspective, which is fine. That's what you're saying. You like being selfish is another way to say what you just said. I like being selfish and I don't want to give of myself to somebody else. But
I also think there's something selfless involved, which is to say, I could go and start a family and drag them into a world of mine, which is pretty chaotic. I mean, is this really the kind of a lifestyle? If I'm banned on everything and I can't make a living, I'm banned from banking, I'm banned from credit card processing, I'm getting doxxed, people are showing up to my house trying to kill me, things like that. And what's more, I mean, let's also get, I also don't appreciate the lecture. You don't know me, so I know you're married. I know you're older than me, but you don't know me. You don't know my life. You don't know my situation. I don't think you're in a position to give me advice, especially as a woman, honestly. I don't think women, this is something in the right wing. We say we're anti-feminist, and then women go around telling men what to do who are not their husbands. And, I don't really buy into that ideologically, but that's besides the point. It
was more a lot of this because like they kind of
go. It seems like he was trying to push back though.
It was a little pushback on it, but it wasn't what he does on his show. Like, if you ever listen to him on his show, he goes crazy. He goes ham on his show where he starts off. Like, even then, they had an earlier conversation at the beginning of it where they talked about Dave Smith. So Dave Smith is a comedian who's Jewish, who's been highly outspoken about the conflict in Palestine. He goes and says, well, he's a Jew, at the end of the day, he's still a Jew. He's still one of them. And she said, so what does that even mean? Like, what are you trying to say? If he's speaking these words, he said, well, and then he goes to, well, it's more so about tokenism. So, because he can't stay on anything. He's a like personification of a Monty Bailey fallacy in the sense that he takes these points, these controversial points, but once you put any kind of criticism onto him, once you put any kind of scrutiny onto the things that he says, he then goes into another position that's more defensible, and he can never actually stand in his truth. And just to see that when he doesn't have his, supporters around him vocalizing and, kissing his ass, to see him fall and fall back onto a lot of things I've heard other white supremacists when they get on TV and other people's shows do, where they say, well, I don't actually hate people. Like, yes, you do, Nick. You told me that. I heard you say it. You said you didn't want to live around black people. So it's because you hate them. Like, what are we talking about here? Don't try to now. There's you, Ye, and Candace. Y'all are the good ones. Don't try to good one the save face in front of a color. You call that person a nigger right to his face if you that bold. That's the Nick Fuentes I thought I knew, that I was familiar with.
I prefer that type of racism.
It's not even a preference. It's just who I seen you to be, and for you to just be a clown in just this sense. He started doing another thing too.
Why do you think that he let's like hypothesize a little bit. Why you think he decided to tuck his tail in between his legs a little bit with Candace versus, other than like he's not smart enough to actually stand against her, which like Candace has proven to us, regardless of what you think about her, that like she will argue you down. Like she will have talking point after talking point, and she's well researched. Well, we'll give her that.
Hold on, I got another clip to play. So
I am racist, I would say. I believe in the races. I believe there are white people and black people and Hispanics and Asians, and I think that it's a core part of our identity. It's who we are. And there's like this conservative reflex to say, we're colorblind. Race doesn't mean anything. And, you know, Pat Buchanan said this. He said, it's not everything, but it isn't nothing. And I definitely lean more towards the latter, which is it really is a core part of who we are. Our culture, our heritage, our ancestors, our customs, all of it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not that I don't think that two people can fall in love from different races. Of course they can. And they have throughout history. And the races have mixed throughout history and assimilated. But for someone like myself, I always say on my show, it's just my value. I want to marry someone that looks like me, that comes from a similar background, because I want my kids to look like me. I want my grandkids to look like me.
But are you, sorry, I just want to make sure, did you say I'm a racialist or I'm a racist?
You know, for a long time, I would say I'm racialist. Now I just say I'm racist.
Okay, so when you say you're racist, because these definitions get changed around, racist, you know, anti-Semitism gets expanded. What do you mean when you say I'm a racist? Because I think most people watching this would go, if you are a racist in the traditional sense of the term, why are you on this podcast, right? Wouldn't you just go, you know what, Candace is black and she's therefore I don't want to speak to her.
Right.
Certainly not going onto your show and saying, why won't Candace have me on? That doesn't really seem to line up with the traditional sense of the idea of racist. So
yeah, and I'm using it, I'm being a little tongue-in-cheek. I mean, for the purpose of understanding, I'd say my views are I'm a racialist. But I do think that we need to deconstruct this idea of racism in the sense that, you know, look, you're black, I'm white. It is what it is. For my entire life, people have been walking around on eggshells about the subject of race, about white people being racist. Can I say this? Can I say that? Can I have this opinion? And me, I'm sort of, you know, Gavin McInnes said it like this. He said, you're kind of post-racist. You're sort of after this craze where everything was racist. It's sort of this recognition that we live in a heavily racial world. And, you know, look, sometimes we have racist feelings. Racist feelings like, I want to live in a white neighborhood. I don't want to live in a black neighborhood. If they were all like you, obviously it'd be a different story. But when we think of a black neighborhood, we know what that means.
That's offensive to me. I know Candace doesn't find that offensive, but like me, the type of nigga I am, I would be like, nah, I'm not one of the good niggas. I'm one of the bad niggas. To you, I'm one of the bad niggas.
Always.
I'm like
nothing about me should feel like a good nigga to you.
Nah, I don't want white people like Nick Fuentes to think I'm one of the good ones at all. I want you to feel uneasy around me, nigga. Okay, so I have two things. I had to write them down so I don't forget them because you know I'll be forgetting them. His definition of racism in the beginning, just believing that there are different races, that's not the definition of racism. I also looked up the definition of racialist, and it's just a person who's with a prejudiced belief that one race is superior to others. That's racism. Like, tongue-in-cheek is not the right term for this. You're just lying. Also, what has his position? Because he said that I was surprised that he said that different races can fall in love, and he's completely fine with that. He just doesn't want that for himself. What do you know? What his position on? I don't even want to say that, but race mixing, like interracial dating, has been before.
No, he's always said that it's not for him. It's something he would never.
But he hasn't condemned it for other people before, because that surprised me. That
he would say it in a way like, why would you want to be a white man and your baby doesn't look like you? Like that, he would say, he talks around it. He doesn't have to be a direct on the point with it, but he talks around it. Like, and another point that
must suck for y'all, because as soon as y'all have a baby with anybody else, it look like them. Y'all genes don't be fighting at all. Fight back.
And I think that's more so what they're upset with, and they'll try to paint this idea like, no, that's 50% of your genes. It's just your genes are weak. So
they're recessive.
They're not dominant.
Recessive genes.
You are a mutant.
Blonde hair, blue eyes, recessive genes.
I hate to break it to you. You are a mutant. But he'll go into this spiel about sub-Saharan Africa. And I hate I hate so much what the racists try to do, because what they'll do with sub-Saharan Africa is it's always never that part. So he tries to say sub-Saharan Africa doesn't have any written language. There isn't any like monuments or people and all this other stuff. But then Ethiopia has the oldest written document in human history. But then
And was never colonized.
But then he'll say, because somebody talked about this too on his show with him. He talked, well, I'm not talking about that. So the Ethiopians had X, Y, and Z. It's always, I'm not talking about this. Sub-Saharan Africa is this, and sub-Saharan, and then when you show what
the cultures,
what was going on, the fact that they try to paint sub-Saharan Africa like they weren't part of the Mediterranean trade, that's not true. You peckerwoods couldn't figure out how to go through the Sahara Desert. They did. They knew how to get through the desert to bring their goods to the where the water was, so they could get payment and transport. This idea that you try to paint black people from Africa, and especially sub-Saharan Africa, as less than is bullshit, because they were good enough to do trade with. They were good enough for them to bring people to you, for you to trade people for goods. And we're to the point where there's been estimated about 12 million people were taken from Africa during the slave trade, not just America, but to the Arabic world as well. Like, it was a two-front coastal system. And this idea that, one, that the coastal cities weren't developed, like there wasn't business and trade. The fact that then you go into, because he'll say, oh, this is another thing too that really pissed me off about his conversation that he was having. Because every time that Candace would rebuke him or rebuttal to him, because he even tried to bring up Haiti and said, oh, Haiti isn't a developed country. What's going on in Haiti? And she surprisingly defended it. We're saying there's a lot of history that I'm not familiar with, but that I've heard and I've been trying to research on, that would say that, no, Haiti is not responsible for their own outcome.
No, Haiti has been under the thumb and paying France back for God knows how long, for no reason, after we were the ones that were slaves.
Not even just that, just the money that's been stolen and all sorts of resources. But no,
yes, because a bunch of people got put in power, very corrupt. There's a lot of that's been going on with Haiti for decades.
So you don't think that there's group differences on average between the races?
I think, just to be clear, I think there would be group differences if you took, like we were talking about, an American versus somebody who graduates college in Europe. There'd be tremendous differences.
Not tremendous, but yeah, there would be slight differences.
Yeah.
But you don't think that
I think
racially there's differences between races?
I think, yeah, because we have huge differences culturally. So going to your point of saying, I don't want to live in a black neighborhood, well, neither does LeBron James when he gets money, right? And there's a reason for that, because there is something that's happening culturally in Black America that's been going on for a very long time. But that thing, I would argue, didn't exist in.
What about in Africa and Haiti? I mean, they're killing and eat each other in Africa and Haiti, everywhere where they are. You have
that's one nigga.
Yeah, I'd like to look into, and I'm pleading ignorant, but I've heard some things about what happened in Haiti and what the Clinton Foundation did there. So I think I'd have to look more into the history of
Haiti of its economic power
at all. I just
completely
don't think I agree with that.
What about
and
all of
trading
Africa,
power?
then? There's not one country in sub-Saharan Africa that's successful. Not one. They're all least developed countries. They're all
not true either.
This kind of reminds me, and we could kind of flesh out this conversation together, and I'm not perhaps ready to have it fully, but I do remember going back to Dave Smith where he was conceding a point on, well, all of these other Middle Eastern countries, no, you wouldn't want to live there. You'd want to live in Israel. In my mind, I'm going, well, because you just keep bombing the crap out of them if they ever try to get ahead. I remember watching this clip of him saying that, going, why don't these countries get ahead? And kind of going back in my mind to the Gaddafi speech where he was speaking essentially about, here's what we got to do in Libya to get ahead. Here's what we're going to do with the dollar, and we're going to be progressive and this and that. And they killed them.
That's such bullshit.
And then what happened to those Libyan refugees? Suddenly they're now pouring into, just like he said was going to happen, that they were now pouring into the European continent, and Europeans are complaining, who are these people?
So I want y'all to listen to his response and how he responds to this.
Just like you would say, I don't know.
That just sounds, being honest with you, that just sounds to me like a left-wing argument when they say, why don't these countries get ahead? Colonialism, you're a colonizer. It's like, okay, but when we got there, they had no development.
It's not true.
We got to Africa, they had no technological development.
You fucking
liar.
liar.
Do you think that even if we weren't at war, if we had done nothing in terms of the Middle East, that they would just be savages and just be like, America didn't do anything it doesn't set anything backwards, and you're just like bombing a place.
Yeah. Kind of. I think that we did set them back because when they don't have political order,
he says yes, but then we did set them
development
back.
And investment and things like that. But, again, when you look at the antecedents of all these, the history didn't start, like you said, with World War II in the 20th century. There's a reason that European civilization created this enormous gap between them and everybody else. And
there's an American privilege that he, I think, is operating from, where he can't even compute.
No, but he can. I'm gonna tell you how. So they talk about the IQ thing, and it was real interesting because he brings it up as a matter of fact in regards to, hey, these people have have low IQs. That's why they perform this particular way. So she turns it on him. Candace does a really good job of turning it on him and says, well, if that's the case, the Jewish people who you're so negative against, they have higher IQs than most white people. They have some of the higher IQs of most white people. So they could just say you're just peddling conspiracy theory because you're inferior. And then he said, well, IQ has a lot of different ways to look at it. So, so now
your point changes.
Now it changes in the midst of the whole conversation. Now IQ is not this definitive thing anymore that you can use to apply it once it shows that you are inferior. And that's what I'm saying, where it's like Nick Fuentes is a clown in that regard. And it's not even his fault, because the point that he tries to attach himself to, they're all clowns. Like when you are a conservative, you kind of put the red nose and the hair on. You're being a dumbass clown. And it was just hilarious to me to just kind of see that happen full circle, because it was literally like in the moment where he says this thing and pulls it back. And it's like
he has to pull them back, though, because all of the points that he's making are not based in fact.
Yeah, he's a Shrewdinger's Christian.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he is.
What is that?
It's when a person who says like these grandiose things,
Shrewdingers.
It's like the Shrewdinger's cat. It's a play off of that expression, where it's like the Shrewdinger's cat is essentially like this experiment that can't think of the.
I'm gonna go Google.
I can't think of what the experiment is. But a Schrodinger's Christian is somebody who makes these grandiose statements, but then once you apply any level of logic or reason to it, then you show that it doesn't fall through. So like that's exactly who Nick is. That's like what you have to be a conservative in this movement at this day and time, because the most convenient argument, having just a little bit of factual information, tears down all of their stances.
I just looked up Schrodinger's cat, and now I have more questions than I had before I knew what it was. But that's not what we're talking about.
But Schrodinger's cat is just basically like if you put a cat in a box or something.
Okay, you read it. Let me just really quickly to you guys. So Schrodinger's cat is a famous thought experiment in quantum mechanics that illustrates the concept of superposition. It involves a cat in a sealed box with a radioactive atom and a mechanism that could release poison, killing the cat. Until the box is opened and the cat's state is observed, it is considered to be in a superposition of both alive and dead states simultaneously. Mm-hmm. So like,
it's because you don't know it yet. Anything, those possibilities.
Simultaneous, yeah. Okay.
So that's where it was. And then, like I said, the Schrodinger's Christian is just somebody who stands on like a controversial take, and then the most convenient argument just tears it down. So that's essentially what it is. And that's the same thing what I said earlier when I said a Monty Bailey fallacy.
So you just don't know what happens until you know what happens.
Essentially.
Period. Learn something new every day, especially with this one.
And then when I called him a Monte Bailey fallacy, that's just a controversial take that retreats to a defensible position once it's challenged. So like that's what they are. That's what they live in, and that's what their capacity is for. So y'all can say, oh y'all don't understand Nick and Nick. No, Nick is he's a bitch. He's a peckerwood. He's a pathetic peckerwood, and honestly he a goofy because he got on his show by himself, and oh my goodness. The chest was poking.
Of course. His dick was swinging as soon as she wasn't in front of him, actually clocking him.
It was so sick. I'm like, this nigga.
I wish Candace would use her powers for good instead of Cooney evil.
She can't help it, though. She can't help it. And it's the funny thing because she'll do it. She'll have this like critical thought for everybody else, but then once it starts being black people, and then now she just, she forgets it.
It's so crazy. I don't know.
All right, so let's just wrap it up. I want to wrap it up this part here, just so I'm letting y'all hear the pathetic peckerwood Nick Fuentes himself discuss him and Candace.
Thing but unpleasant and annoying and a nuisance. And I don't think she's a good faith person. I don't think she's an honest person. I think she's full of shit.
I think she's a bitch. I think she's a hypocrite. You know, her whole shtick is make him a sandwich. That's her book. Make him a sandwich. And then she's a fucking bitch. You can't have it always like that. Make him a sandwich, but I'm not going to take my husband's last name and I'm going to be wagging my finger and telling everybody what to do. Ain't nobody got time for that. Nobody needs that.
And then you use like a black AAVE term to end. Like, get this motherfucker out of my face.
Can a nigga live, please? This country sucks.